All right. Hello, everybody. You're listening to Lipstick and Leather, and with me, right beside me, is Chip Z Nuff. How's it going today, Chips?
It's a beautiful day. I'm here in lovely, I think it's New Jersey, Clifton, New Jersey. I was just reading about this town, actually. Scientists are flocking here to study the effects of cocaine on the brain in laboratory rats. And after 3 weeks, all they found was the rats owe them $4,000. They won't shut the fuck up. But besides that, it's a beautiful town. I really like the people a lot. Very quaint. I just went to a little antique place across the street, and I bought this small little telephone for my wife. It's absolutely adorable, you guys. Check it out. So it's all silver. It's a baby little phone.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That is cool.
You never see it. It's like 1930s. I'm not like a crazy antique collector, but I thought, oh God, it's a pin. Yeah. So you put it on your jacket and the lapel. I'm not going to wear it because, with my luck, some fan will grab it and steal it from me. But no, it's a nice little town. I'm glad to be here. This will be about the 6th or 7th time I've played this venue.
Very cool. Now, you've got some great guest stars on your solo CD, Perfectly Imperfect. How did you hook up with Joel Hoekstra?
I grew up with him when Enough Snuff first came out in 1989. Our first album came out. We had some success on MTV with a couple of hit songs. One of them was New Thing. The second one was called Fly on Michelle. Joel Hoekstra had a band, and they were playing in Blue Island. And he's playing with a good friend of mine. So I went down to the show. I took time out of my busy schedule to go see him, and I'll never forget that. He loved it, the fact that he had a band that was doing well on TV and radio, supporting them. And we've been friends ever since. And when the record came out, I reached out to him and I said, I don't know if you're on tour with Trans-Siberian Orchestra or Whitesnake, but I'm doing a solo record and I'd love to have your beautiful guitar playing. He says, send me as many songs as you want, Chip. That's exactly what he said, and I did. Got him to play it, and then after he played on, I got Joel Hoekstra's buddy, Dax Nielsen from Cheap Trick, to play on 5 songs as well. So it's always good to have other musicians playing with you on solo records. It shows a different side of the band.
Very true. And I was just in Chicago 2 weeks ago, and what a beautiful city.
It's a lovely city. It's a lot of culture. Got a lot of sports, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, along with tons of concert venues to go see live entertainment. Unfortunately, lately, the city has changed a little bit with their leadership, which is unfortunate. They're doing a few things that I think are questionable. One of them is defund the police. I think that's a shortcut to thinking, especially in a city like Chicago, where the crime rate has grown exponentially in the last couple of years. Outside of that, though, beautiful place to live. I want law and order, and that's where I live, and I want to make sure that not only myself am I safe, but the rest of the people in the city are in good shape too.
For sure. On the Perfectly Imperfect topic, I love the version of Enough Z Nuff's Heroin that you do. Any plans to redo any other Enough Z Nuff tracks? And if not, what's the ultimate Enough Z Nuff song you would like to redo maybe down the road?
If you look on Spotify, you'll see Enough Z Nuff has about 300 songs on there. Mm-hmm. We certainly haven't held anything back. We want the fans to get as much material as possible. As far as re-recording any songs or cutting things that we've put out in the past, that remains to be seen. The biggest fear of any musician is running out of songs. I still got songs, I still got tunes, I still put them out. If you look in the last 6 months, Enough Snuff has put out the Beatles record, Hard Rock Night. Yeah. We put out Perfectly Imperfect, and then my new Enough Snuff album comes out in a couple months. That's called Finer Than Sin. So we don't run out of material, and there's no reason to go back into the well. But to answer your question, the reason I put Heroin out again was I wanted to do a different version of it, and I thought it would only be fitting to put drums on, because that's how I always heard a song like that. When we were first recording that song, it was me at 3-4 o'clock in the morning with a guy named Chris Shepard, people know him from KMFDM and Smashing Pumpkins. Mm-hmm. And it was late at night, we were tired, and I go, hey man, I got this tune, can I go in the studio and play guitar and sing on it and see how it comes out? He goes, yeah, go ahead, Chip. So, and then it sounded so organic and simple, and we said, perhaps it shows a different side of the band, we'll put that out like that. Then I crossed that path again on the solo record, and I said, I want to redo it, put drums on it, and make it like I initially heard the song. So that's the reason I re-recorded and put out my Heroin. Perhaps in the future, I'll look at new material a little differently and just want to focus on that as opposed to the older stuff, because there's so many great songs, and I'll never sing them as good as my little brother. He's a much better singer. He's a fabulous artist. But if I wrote them, I'm going to do them. So only time will tell what comes out next. I'm happy with the way we're doing things right now. New material, fresh, organic, real, live in the studio. That's the way the future, that's what I look at my crystal ball.
Very cool. Now, as all being cat lovers, how are your cats, Truly and Amos, doing?
God, I love the kitty cats. I miss them. It's the hardest part about being away from family is not being around the animals. Now, if I was on tour and we were opening for Rod Stewart and Cheap Trick, or we were out with Guns N' Roses, or one of the big tours of Whitesnake, which we should be, by the way. That's how I look. We're an arena band that plays clubs. But and once in a while, a couple of big gigs slip through the cracks, and we get a chance to play for some big audiences. I'd bring the cats with me. Are you kidding me? My one kitty cat, I can just take her right out and walk all the way down the street. She doesn't run away, no leash, no nothing. Just stays right on the sidewalk and just walks right down with me. We have little walks around the block. It's fantastic. The other kitty cat, Amos, he doesn't really go out very often, but all I gotta do is say bedtime, and he comes right to bed and goes to sleep. So yeah, they're beautiful kitty. I love animals. So. If you don't love animals, we probably won't be hanging out too much together. I gotta be honest with you. I've always loved plants and animals and trim, which is beautiful, girls.
Now, on the brainwashed generation topic, Ace Frehley does a solo on Drugline Weekend, but it's very hard to hear that solo. Why is that? And would you get maybe Ace to do a solo on maybe a future album down the road?
Yeah, when 2017, 2018 went on tour, Ace Frehley did about, if I'm not mistaken, about 25, 26 shows. So I asked Ace, the only one, by the way, the only one Ace talks to on the whole tour is me. He doesn't even talk to his own fucking band. He comes in the back door 5 minutes before a show, sees me. It's not a handshake or a wave or anything. It's a fucking hug. How are you, bro? Are they treating you good? Yes. Where's my dressing room? Right there. See you later. And that's how I just wash, rinse, repeat every day with him. At the end of the record, we were opening for him in Detroit at this small little place, jam-packed, by the way. There's 1,000 people in there. You couldn't squeeze a mouse in there. And he was in his dressing room all by himself, and his assistant, Jimmy, who was an ex-New York cop, I knocked on the door and seen me, let me in. I was lucky because no one's allowed in that fucking room. And I asked him, I said, Ace, I'm doing a record right now. I'd love you to play guitar. And he goes, yeah, sure, just send me a couple songs. I'll play 3 or 4 solos for you. I go, great. So I sent him all 3 tunes. And then when they sent me the masters back, I couldn't hear his guitar. And the record company wanted the material immediately, like pronto. So I said, give me that fucking Stratocaster, and I just plugged in and played 1 or 2 takes and tried to do my best Ace Frehley impersonation. Hence why I put on the record, thanks to Ace Frehley for solo on, what did I say?
Drugline Weekend.
Yeah, it was Drugline Weekend. You couldn't hear it because, they didn't record it the right way, whatever the case may be. I got it done. It sounded a little bit like Ace. I did my best impersonation. And he did say he'd make it up to me. So, yeah, in the future, perhaps we'll get him on another song or 2.
Very, very cool. Now, I love the Hard Rock Nights album. I know you're a huge Cheap Trick fan, just like me. Would you ever consider maybe doing a tribute to Cheap Trick down the road?
Nah, probably not. Although I have nothing but respect and admiration for that band. I've always admired their strut. And in the old days, Cheap Trick would come down to my house, and we'd be recording, and they'd fucking hang out with me. We'd smoke pot together and have a wonderful time, drink some cocktails. And then when they were doing guitar overdubs on their records, they invite me over to the studio and to hang out with them and stuff I did with them. They said, okay, we did. It was a real fucking rock band. Those guys really treated me as family, and we still are very close. As a matter of fact, we just played with them in January out at Rock Island in Florida. It was jam-packed, fantastic show, 5,000-6,000 people there. But I think it's too close to home for me to do anything that would be considered a tribute to Cheap Trick, because our music's already close enough as it is. We're both influenced by the Beatles, and I think we both carry our own timbre. I will say this, there's a record that's out right now, came out about 4 months ago. It's called No Cover. It's by the bass player from Megadeth, Jim Ellison. And Jim Ellison called me on the phone. He says, hey man, I'm doing a solo record. I have Al Jurgensen from Ministry on it and a bunch of other illustrious musicians. I was hoping that perhaps you'd be interested in singing on a cover of a Cheap Trick song that we just recorded. I said, yeah, what is it? He says, Downed. I remember Downed. I think it's on a second Cheap Trick album, in color. And so I went down to the studio and sang on it. So I'm on it. There's a Cheap Trick song that you can get on Spotify right now that I'm playing bass and singing on. Well, Dave Ellison's actually playing bass on that one. I'm just singing the lead vocals on it with a couple other guys from Bang Tango and Fear Factory. Dave Ellison, no cover. You can get it now. I think I did a great job of it because the guys in Cheap Trick gave me a thumbs up, so I'm happy with that. I don't need to do a whole Cheap Trick cover record. It would be confusing motion with progress.
Now, I know you're obviously very busy touring with Enough's Enough, but if you have time down the road, would you do any more of the Beatles rock shows?
Perhaps, if it comes to fruition, I would take that. I just got off tour with another band. I was out with London Choir Boys. I toured with them through the United States. I'll go out and do tours if I'm not working with other bands. If I like the band, and I played Missing Persons for years. I played with Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses and Adler's Appetite for years. I'll do other projects if it feels good for my soul. If I can help them out too as well. Sometimes it's not always about the finances. It's about doing good things for other people. I love playing. But my focus and center of attention is with Enough's Enough. That's the legacy that I'll leave behind when everything is said and done.
Absolutely. Now, how close was this coming about? A supergroup with yourself, Ray Luzier, Paul Gilbert, and Gilby Clarke to do a Beatles tribute?
I thought it was going to fucking happen. I was in Los Angeles. The agent had dinner with us. Me and our agent, our manager, Chuck Burnell of Ars Worldwide. After we finished dinner over at the Rainbow, we were high-fiving, saying, "This is going to be fucking great. Tour bus, a couple months on the road. I'll go out and make $100,000. Certainly could use the money, and never cry about that." And then nothing. It just moved, and it was 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Not one word, not one peep. And then I brought it up to Chucky. I said, "Yeah, why don't you reach out to that agent and see what's happening with that Beatles show they want to do?" And he called me back. He says, "Unfortunately, I had a meeting with Gilby Clarke, and Gilby says, listen, I love Chip. He's a good singer. He's a great bass player. I think we're going to need a bigger name." And so they never got together and did it. And I got pushed to the side. And my ego wasn't hurt, trust me, okay? I could fucking kick this shit out. I could be in any of those fucking bands. But I thought for them, it was for sure they were confusing motion with progress, because it would have been a great band. We all had a great time there. And I knew Paul Gilbert for years. He covered a couple of Enough's Enough songs on a solo record. Yeah. And we've been great friends, and we both shared the same management company. We were both managed by Herbie Herbert, who managed Mr. Big, Enough's Enough, Roxette, Europe, Steve Miller Band, etc. He managed everybody, Journey, of course. And so I thought this is a slam dunk home run. And Ray Luzier would have been great too to have playing drums with him. He's fucking solid as a rock. They didn't do it. It's a missed opportunity for us. But for me, I took lemons and turned them into lemonade. I thought about it myself. I said, maybe I'll start recording a couple of Beatles songs just to move forward and see how it sounds. Recorded Cold Turkey, which is on the Shave Fish record by John Lennon. It seemed to go really well. And then I recorded Revolution, and I started going through songs that Enough's Enough did in the early days. Dear Prudence off the White Album. And I just started mixing up. When I finished the whole record, I had 15 songs that we recorded, me, Tony Fennell, Tori Stoff-Reagan, and Daniel Benjamin Hill. And then I started sussing it out and knocking it out to the best 10. Didn't think Frontiers was going to put it out. We still have a contractual obligation with them. And lo and behold, they heard the demos and they said, "This sounds great. We want the record." They didn't give a shit for the album. We didn't make any money, okay? We didn't even pay for the record, okay? The record probably cost us $25-30 to make. They didn't pay us but a pittance of that. But we did it more. It was just to cleanse our soul and show our respect to one of the greatest bands of all time. And we're not a tribute band. We're not a cover band. We did the record because it's a reinterpretation of those Beatles songs. And I just thought, well, what would the Beatles sound like now if they did a record through Marshall stacks and SVT amplifiers and big drums? And we put the record out, and it's sold great. It's been doing wonderful for us, getting great reviews. The journalists around the country love it. We sold a Brinks truck full of them. Will we ever make money on it? Who knows about that? But one thing I do know is we've done a few shows. Instead of calling it Enough's Enough, we call it the Beatles Rock Show, and that's done very well. We make way more money doing it like that than we do at Enough's Enough gig. So I see perhaps in the future we'll get a chance and we'll go out and do a tour of that. But right now, my center of focus of attention is just Enough's Enough. Finish out, get this new Enough's Enough album out there. If you want to come see us live in concert, we'll play songs off that record. You can hear them, and if you dig it, great.
Very cool. Now, you've been singing forever. However, was it a challenge to step up to the plate to be a lead vocalist?
You're fucking right. You kidding me? Donnie B's one of the best singers in rock.
That's right.
You know, and I could have went a different direction. I looked at bands like Journey, Stone Temple Pilots, Foreigner, great fucking bands with wonderful singers. I just hail them. Kelly's doing a great job with Foreigner, by the way. Jeff Gutt from Stone Temple Pilots, fucking rock star. But I said to myself, well, I can go in that direction and try to find a singer. And I had a guy who sounds just like my brother. He's fantastic. And he had the look of the world, too. Thin, chiseled, perfect guy. I asked him, I go, would you ever be interested in playing with Enough Snuff? He goes, Chip, you're my favorite fucking band. You guys in ELO. And he goes, I would love to do it. He goes, but I make $2.5 million a year as a lawyer. He goes, it'd be, you know, shortcut the thing. My wife would leave me. I go, don't even worry about it, bro. Forget about it. And then I started looking at the history of bands that continued their careers after the singer left. And I stumbled upon Genesis when Peter Gabriel left, Phil Collins took over. And I said, that's the template I'm going to use. So I just tried to do it. And I remember my mom, God rest her soul, I've lost her a couple of years ago, but just a wonderful mother, she's an extraordinary woman. And she goes, honey, you gotta sing these songs. You got a beautiful voice. I go, nah, it's not like that. Yes, you do. You're singing on those records too. And I go, I know, Mom. I go, but you know, no one's gonna sing like my little brother. And then when the time came up, I said, maybe I'll put it together. And I called Tony Fennell from Ultravox. And I asked Tori, I go, what do you think about me? He goes, I've been telling you should be singing the songs a long time ago. So we went into rehearsal. One rehearsal after the second song, we said, fuck, this is going to be great. But it still took me a while to find my feet, okay? I can wear the dress well now, but at first I'm not fooling anybody. I had fucking 10 sheets of paper on stage, you know, trying to look at lyrics, you know, just trying to sing these songs. But I found my footing right here, and the good Lord works in mysterious ways, and here I am. I'm the front man of the band. I've put 6 records out with me singing the songs, and no one's been pissed at me, and all the big bands that come up around the country and play shows. They all give me hugs and kisses and tell me I'm doing a great job. So, you know, it really gave me confidence. Where I was in at the Whiskey a Go-Go in Los Angeles about 5 years ago, and I was backstage, and it was just me and Paul Stanley from Kiss. Nobody else. We were doing the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and my band that I taught how to play songs rehearsed them for 3 days, and then you go up and play a couple gigs in front of a bunch of people at the Whiskey or wherever the venue is going to be. Paul Stanley's back there. We're just getting ready for the gig, and Paul says, hey, Chip, how would you like to open for Kiss for a couple of shows on the Kiss cruise? I said, oh, I'd love to do that. I'd be honored. And Paul goes, well, we asked you a couple of years ago, and you guys said no, and I was embarrassed. I said, well, perhaps we were working. You know, we had a studio or something. I apologize. I go, but I'm ready to do it. You guys want us? He goes, yeah, hold on. Grab the phone. Yeah, we're going to put Enough Snuff on with Kiss, okay? All right, thanks. He goes, yeah, you're on. And I call my agent on the phone. I go, yeah, Paul Stanley just booked Enough Snuff for 4 shows, opening for them. So the very first gig, I see Evan Stanley, Paul's kid, out there. And I go, Evan, you want to jam with us? He goes, fuck, I love Enough Snuff. I go, great. I go, what do you want to do? He goes, you guys doing Baby Loves You? And I said, yeah, I do that. It's off the Strength record. Yeah. So he goes, I'll come up and do that. So he did that. And I look out in the crowd, and there's Doc, the manager, Doc McGee, and I look over, and there's Paul Stanley, and there's Gene Simmons, and the whole fucking band's there, watching the show with the guys from King's X and Skid Row, all the bands that were on the bill. And we kicked ass, and not to sound modest, it was just a good show. The band was on fire. And at the end of the gig, they came down to say thank you, for the good performance, and thanks for bringing Evan on stage with us. And Paul Stanley and Doc look at me. They go, "It was a great show, Chip." And Doc goes, "You should have been doing this 10 years ago." And I thought that gave me confidence. Okay, when you got the big guys giving you the thumbs up and respecting what you do, that's pretty much that's the pill I needed at the time. So I'm happy the way the band's going right now. My brother did a great job. 20, almost 30 years together with Enough's Enough. He doesn't owe anybody anything. He's a fabulous singer, songwriter, musician. And although he might be slinging mud, he lives in a glass house. He should never forget that, because we're keeping the name and the legacy out there. And he'll still make money no matter what we do. He'll still get compensated, taken care of. So at the end of the day, who cares who drives the bus? Let's get to the picnic.